red light goes on. Hi, Mr. C here in the Fab Lab for Mr. Garcia. Mr. Garcia went ahead and created this as a template, or what would you say, a study guide type thing?
A sample of
Hitch what your project is. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and inlay the inside of this with a colored epoxy. So I just want to show you how to do that. I'm Mr. C, I'm next door, okay? So first thing what we need to do is we need to make sure that we have everything in front of us before we go ahead and start this process. I have both my epoxies, the hardener and the resin. I have my dye. I have my trusted Jets stirring stick. I have the shovel piece that the dye comes from, and a syringe to go ahead and grab the mixed epoxy. So the very first thing I need to do is this is a 2-to-1 ratio mix of epoxy resin. So I need to go ahead and make sure I get 2 depressions. It's 2 depressions of the full amount.
I don't
touch
see
the screen. Just touch the screen and be fine.
Yep.
1. I make sure this pulls up. 2.
And that's the hardener?
This is the hardener, and it needs 1 depression of this. Now, this is considered a batch. So 1 batch should go ahead and complete this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my fork from the local Jets and mix this up real thorough. Okay? So I'm going to mix this for a minute or 2. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of my blue dye. Now, it doesn't take very much of this dye to get the color that you're looking for.
That's
like this amount.
That's a powder, huh?
Yeah, it's a powder dye. It's iridescent. It's going to look really slick. So I go ahead and mix that in there. Make sure I seal up my bag after I'm done. This does get a little bit expensive. This product you can find on Amazon, and you can buy it in a multi-color pack. That's what we did for the woodworking students. So here you can see it's starting to mix.
How long does it take for that epoxy to set up?
Now, full cure time is 24 hours. It'll start drying in about an hour or 2. The more you mix it, like I'm mixing this pretty rigorously, so this is going to dry a little bit faster. It's going to create the chemical reaction a little bit quicker than if you just mix it just for a little bit. And as you can see, I have the tines and the fork, which help mixes this up. You have to make sure that when you mix these 2 epoxy resin and hardener, it is in the quantities it's designed for as a 2-to-1, or else it will never dry. Once this dries, it turns into plastic. Okay? So I mix this up pretty good. Now, I do have my syringe here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the trash can, because we do not want this getting anywhere. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that out. Now I have my syringe here. Now there's a reason why I have these shop towels here. Just want to take your time when you're doing this. Now it is going to shrink as it dries just a little bit. Just getting a little bit more.
Now I noticed that it overflowed on some of the letters.
Mm-hmm.
Is that easily
Yes. It
removed?
can be easily removed
Yep.
with a little bit of polishing after, but what we're going to do is we're going to wipe off this when I'm all done. Oh, like that. That's obviously a boo-boo, right? I'm going to place this in here for a second. Now, the reason why we have these towels here is right here. This reason. Now, a little bit of polishing afterward will take this off, the excess. Clearly, the epoxy resin will end up turning into plastic when we're all done. Now, I do recognize the fact that there's some right here, but like I was saying, a little bit of polishing when we're all done will take this to make this go a long way. Now, I noticed in a couple spots here, like this, that didn't help that it came off the syringe. Okay. Like I said, now just let this sit for 24 hours, let it fully cure. Once you do that, you can polish this and it's going to come out perfectly.
And that little bit of extra will just come right off in the
Yes,
polish.
absolutely.
Cool. Now I noticed there's little bubbles on this one. Those will eventually
Now,
settle.
this is what I wanted to say is if we happen to have a heat gun, which I have one in the other room, just hit it with a little bit of a heat gun, or if you had a dryer or something like that, a hair dryer, that would work 100%. And like basically what that does is it heats it up to where the bubbles will come right out,
Okay.
and you don't have to worry about it. It'll be very, very clear.
Okay.
So, like I clearly, I think Mr. D is going. I think he has one. But we can get rid of these bubbles here. These.